What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Now it's time to check out the latest wrestling news, and today is the wildest it's been in some time, as Chris Benoit's son David was recently interviewed about his father's crimes. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including his thoughts on the conspiracy theories about his father, his reaction, the state of the WWE, and the name he wants to wrestle under. That's not all though, as we've got news and rumors on the Royal Rumble, and Kurt Angle's problems being a producer, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. But let's waste no further time and get straight into the first story as we look at David Benoit as he spoke on his father Chris Benoit and the turmoil from his family's tragedy. Chris Benoit's son David Benoit carries with him a family legacy of a great wrestler, coupled with the horrific legacy of his father's crimes against his own family. David recently spoke with Chris Van Vliet, the full interview link is in the description down below, about his father and how he has to deal with the after effects of the tragedy. David explained that the news and turmoil overwhelmed him to the point where he couldn't attend school. The news was f***ing non-stop. It was either about steroids, or that Nancy Grace joke. It was terrible, man. I couldn't even walk around. I didn't go finish school. I was about 14 or 15. I didn't finish my finals. I finished high school, but just not that year. It's difficult to imagine anyone, especially a teenager, having to process all this information while dealing with the challenges of attending school. Thankfully, some answers helped David understand what happened. In 2007, the Sports Legacy Institute examined Chris Benoit's brain and determined, according to the tests, his brain resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. Bale said that the damage was the result of lifetime chronic concussions and head trauma. With Chris Benoit believed to have suffered chronic traumatic encephalopathy, also known as CTE, from the numerous concussions he suffered as a wrestler, there's no question his actions could have been caused by CTE's effects, which include behavioral and mood problems. David explained, "That wasn't him, man. He'd never do that. He'd never do that. I know he wouldn't. I think something went terribly wrong. The doctor said he had CTE. At the beginning, that somewhat gave me closure. He had CTE, so I don't think that was him." In fact, David recalled speaking with his dad on Father's Day, which is 17th June 2007, a week before the tragedy. "No, I didn't see him that much. I'd see him in the summer for 4 weeks and then 2 weeks for Christmas. I talked to my dad on Father's Day. That was the last time. We talked for like 2 hours. We were just laughing and getting ready to make plans for the summer, and I got to say I love you one last time to him. That was the last time." Based on the interview, the shocking news was difficult to believe, knowing what David knew of his father. "I thought it was a joke when I first found out. I was in Edmonton doing a fundraising thing with my sister. My mom got the call from RCMP telling her to come down to Georgia. My mom told me my grandfather, Chris's father, went down to Georgia. He was in control of it. My mom couldn't do it because she had to take care of me and my sister. He was in control of the estate and the lawyers." David lost control when a police officer told him the news. "I punched a cop. I punched him right in the chest. I thought it was a joke. I really did. I just didn't believe it, bro. I think the day it really hit me was at his funeral. That was a hard day. I laid him to rest." It would take some time for David to work through his grief and try to find answers to what motivated his father to do what he did. David told Van Vliet that it took me 7 months. "I was sitting there thinking. I thought about it every day. Why? Couldn't he have left a note, or could he have called me?" The various conspiracy theories surrounding the case didn't help, but Daniel put zero stock in them, stating, "Conspiracy theories are just a joke. Kevin Sullivan didn't do anything, you know? We looked at that and never had the police look into him. So yeah, I didn't want to believe it. I thought someone broke into the house or some shit and did it, but apparently there was a scuffle at the door. That's what I heard." Ultimately, David was left mourning the loss of his father, trying to find answers, and grieving over the loss of his little brother Daniel. David has fond memories of Daniel, saying, "I love that little guy. I loved him with all my heart. He was a great kid. Definitely did not deserve that, but you know, he's in a better place now." Not surprisingly, attempts were made to produce a film about Chris Benoit's life. Tentatively titled Crossface, the film was scheduled to start shooting in 2016, that is until David Benoit and his family were finally able to shut the picture down. Benoit told Van Vliet, "There was a director, everything, bro. We had to step in because they wanted to do the tragedy about how it all went down. So we said no. They needed our permission. She sent us the script, and then the end was the whole murder-suicides was going to be all in it. We said no." David is still training to become a wrestler and says there's one name he wants to perform under: Chris Benoit Jr. I don't own the rights to his name yet. I have his middle name I can legally use and they can't come after me. Yeah, I would wrestle as Chris Benoit Jr. I think it would be cool. I've got the tights with the claw. David, now 27, told Chris Van Vliet he lost interest in wrestling until AEW debuted. David's strong resemblance to his dad might lead to problems with him working for the WWE, but Benoit seems to have zero interest in the company, as he claims he gave up watching them because they weren't producing good things anymore. I saw that the quality was going down. Again, it's a very interesting interview, guys, so be sure to check it out if you have some time. Of course, all credit goes to Chris Van Vliet. Next up, a SmackDown match has been announced for this week. The WWE has announced a tables match between Roman Reigns and Robert Roode on the 17th January edition of SmackDown, along with the already scheduled Big E vs John Morrison bout. Based on what we've seen over the last few weeks with King Corbin and the Big Dog, expect to see lots of run-ins during Reigns' match against Corbin's henchmen. Next up, a Royal Rumble update. In case you're wondering who is entered in the Royal Rumble, here's a list of everyone who has been announced for the Men's Rumble. Brock Lesnar in the number 1 spot, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, AJ Styles, Eric Rowan, King Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Otis, Tucker, Elias, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Rusev, Bobby Lashley and R-Truth. That currently leaves 12 superstars remaining. Rumor has it that the WWE wants to include at least 10 NXT stars in the event, but they usually leave a few surprise entrants, so don't be surprised if there are any more names revealed. Be sure to check out our recent video on rumors on who could enter. As for the Women's Rumble, we only know of 4 entrants: Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross and Sarah Logan. Next up, Vince McMahon reportedly gave up on a WWE Superstar. Now, there's many superstars Vince has given up on in the past, including Cedric Alexander and Humberto Carrillo. But apparently there's one more added to the list, as during the Wrestling Observer Radio, EC3 was mentioned. Meltzer was asked if Paul Heyman could push him, but he replied saying that Vince McMahon has already made up his mind and has passed on EC3. He mentioned, "I think that Vince gave up on EC3 real fast, and I don't think they did a tryout with EC3 in April, putting him together with Drake Maverick like they were in TNA, and Vince hated that too, so I don't think this is a Paul Heyman call." It really is a shame because EC3 has bags of talent. The moral of the story is that even the most talented performers won't go far if they don't get the McMahon seal of approval, and even then, they're subject to Vinnie Mac's ever-changing opinions. Next up, Kurt Angle discusses frustration of being a WWE producer. Kurt Angle is one of the greatest performers in WWE history and likely has lots to offer the younger wrestlers he's worked with as a WWE producer. Nonetheless, the job can be extremely frustrating for the WWE Hall of Famer. Angle talked to Chris Van Vliet not too long ago and admitted, "The hardest thing now is letting the young guys step in and have that place that I had. Until you get older, you can't understand. You want to be those guys, but you can't. It's like with anything, football. Deion Sanders, you don't think he's not thinking about it in the booth when he's commentating? You don't think he doesn't think about getting back out there?" Now, we haven't heard much about Angle's work as a producer, but considering all his experience, he seems like someone any wrestler would want to study under. Next up, more reactions to Triple H's joke about Paige. Now, we reported on this news earlier and said that in our opinion the joke was a bit unnecessary. Renee Young along with Paige have both given their response, and now Nikki Bella has chimed in with hers. Instead of tweeting directly to Triple H, she mentioned, "We will never see the true change in equality if we just see them as storylines. Change in a company starts from the top. Our leaders help set the example. For us women, we need all the help we can get. Help with respect from our co-workers and fans. We are all one love." What do you guys think of Nikki's message? And lastly, WWE is copywriting more superstars' names. Ringside News reports that WWE recently filed trademarks for the following superstars' names: Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, The Usos, Mojo Rawley, Lio Rush, AOP and Kaden Carter, who previously worked as Lacey Lane. The site notes these filings are all for use in the realm of entertainment services, namely wrestling exhibitions and performances. In case you're wondering why some of these superstars' names weren't trademarked a while back, PW Insider Steve Fernandez explained the company had a registered trademark for Lesnar in 2003, which was cancelled in 2010. They tried applying again in 2016, but it was abandoned the same year. They had previously applied for a Heyman trademark in 2013, but it was abandoned in 2014. They also had prior applications for Lashley and Rawley. All the other trademarks are first-time applications. Interesting. But there you have it guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.